Hello and welcome to another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, John Davidson, and today we are talking about outdoorsy types of things, specifically decks. My guest today is the owner of Shire Decks, Chad Hoppel, and he has an incredible business. We're going to talk all about the origin of his business, his career journey, and maybe a few failures. Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Where are you hailing from this morning?
I am in central PA, technically Dillsburg, which many people don't know. Closest city is Harrisburg, which people still don't
Okay.
know is the capital of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Uh, and Hershey actually has been popular lately with the World Cup, and Christian Pulisic is from Hershey. So that's been well known lately.
Nice. I have driven through Pennsylvania a number of times. I'm based in Dallas myself,
Okay.
originally from Central California. Not the part that comes to mind when you think of California. I'm from where all the fruit in the world is grown, which is the central part. A lot of people don't realize. But speaking of Hershey, the first ever looped roller coaster I ever went on, I think I was
Super
11
duper
or
looper.
12, was it Hershey, the Hershey theme
Nice.
park.
Very
And then I
good.
got a little Hershey Kiss stuffy that I
Do you
had
still
for a
have it?
long time. I don't have it anymore. My son probably wishes I did. But the one thing before we get into your business, of course, which is the reason we're here, but I remember the street lights are shaped like Hershey Kisses.
Yes, they are. Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, welcome to the podcast. First of all, please share with us what is Shire Decks? What do you do there?
So I know names can be confusing, but we are a deck builder based out of Dillsburg here. We That's all we do is build decks. Anything deck related, accessories, railing replacements, lighting upgrades, deck board replacement, putting a roof over a deck, maybe screening it in. We don't do hardscaping. We don't do concrete. We don't do landscaping. We don't do siding. So
You're
everything else out
focused on what
there.
you do best.
Yep, that's what we do. We focus on one thing.
Fantastic. And it sounds like if somebody has a deck, though, that you can build that roof over it.
Yeah, there's potential. I mean, the problem is a lot of decks were built without a code years ago. So now bringing everything up to code, a lot of times it's better just to start over. So, bringing in fresh framing and starting there, putting on new decking, and then putting a roof over it or creating that three seasons room or screened in porch is something we can do.
Yep. Well, fantastic. Well, take me back to the very beginning of this business. What was happening in your life? What was happening, your family, business that made you say, let's let's start a deck building company?
Well, I have to go back even further. So a little bit further back, I went out on my own as a general contractor. Um, when I did that, I actually decided that, I wanted to work for myself. So we started doing a little bit of everything when it came to the home improvement space, home remodeling. One day you'd be fixing a sink for someone, the next day renovating a bathroom, the next day doing something else. So one of my employees was like, "Hey, have you ever done epoxy coatings?" And I said, "I haven't. What is that?" And now a lot of people know what it is: garage floors, basement floors, those kind of things.
Right.
When it comes to
Very
epoxy,
smooth,
yeah,
right?
very smooth,
Yeah.
nice finish. The preparation is a separation when it comes to installing that. If it's not prepared correctly, you're going to have problems in the future. Um, but as I decided to really go into the epoxy space because there wasn't a lot of companies doing that at the time. So we did a lot of work with the epoxy, which actually ended up having me sell my business to another
Mm.
business. And everyone thinks, wow, that's really good. And the reality of it was, it wasn't a good sale. It wasn't a good
Oh,
deal. Um, Part of the deal, I actually had to work for that company, which I did not like doing. I, I I'm still an entrepreneur at heart. So for 9 months, I worked for that company and um, decided that wasn't where I wanted to be, wasn't what I wanted to do, and that's when I started the deck company.
Mm.
Started out just myself with two guys. Um, Called it Chad Hoppel Deck Specialist because I knew I needed a niche,
Yeah.
and that's what I wanted to do. So that's
And
where we
was
came.
and was there, so you're doing all sorts of stuff, basically kind of everything that's coming in the door. Uh, one rule of successful business is really like start with the one thing you do well, right? I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs that say you want to be an inch wide and a mile deep on your
Yeah,
expertise, right? And then as opportunity and demand comes in, then you maybe add the next thing and the next thing. But a lot of entrepreneurs, I can relate to this in a past business I owned, is you're so concerned or afraid that you're going to miss out on clients or revenue because you're too specialized, right? It's like, I need to do everything. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. But the reality of the situation is, if you do everything, you're targeted to nobody, right? Share a
correct.
little bit about what made that decision for you of just focusing specifically on decks and being great at one specific thing.
Well, and it was kind of a combination, understanding that when I did the general contracting thing, doing something different every day wasn't necessarily good. Um, I wasn't necessarily prepared to do something different every day. Whereas if I'm doing the same thing every day, I'm very well prepared for the next day.
Yeah,
I'm going from one deck to the next. My truck is stocked with the deck tools, the deck supplies that I need. It's not, jumping from a plumbing job to electrical job to a painting job. It's
yeah,
one thing. And I think a lot of businesses would do well focusing on one thing. And I've seen a lot of businesses do well focusing on one thing. And it always comes back to the saying, you can do 1,000 punches one time, or you can do one punch 1,000 times. What punch are you going to do best?
right.
And if I'm fighting someone, I'm hoping that they've
You're
done
gonna
a
hit it with a
thousand
deck
punches.
board because it's in your truck already.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah, I mean that focus is what came in handy. Um, not trying to do everything and focusing on one thing and becoming the specialist in that. And we've seen our company be extremely successful doing that.
yeah. And how long ago? Remind me, when did you start? When was
I
it
started
Chad
in
Hoppel decks?
2019, right before COVID.
Okay. And the size of your team then compared to the t size of your team now?
So then it was myself and two guys. Now I have 25 employees and 5 or 6 subcontractors working for us daily.
Wow.
So yeah, we've grown a good bit in 7 years. Starting out probably around $200,000 in revenue to 3.5 million last year. So
Fantastic.
yeah, we've grown a lot, not without growing pains and not without setbacks. Along the way, I get ideas. Like I had an idea to start a concrete company because I thought, oh, that's going to work well with decks because people want patios.
Right.
And
That makes sense.
that mistake cost me $500,000. So
That's a big one.
yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. Staying in your lane, um, focusing on one thing. Uh, Although, to be fair, I do own a lumber yard and hardware store now, and that was kind of a vertical integration, though, being able to stock materials, order materials for myself, but also there's lots of jobs where we don't win. So if we're out and bidding a job and someone else gets it, it gives us the opportunity to sell that contractor the materials. So we're still getting a piece of that business.
Yeah. So you get an additional revenue stream there that's complementary to your business. And so I think the lesson there for the audience watching and viewing or and listening is yes, focus on that one thing and then but evaluate the market, evaluate your future opportunities. Sometimes you do need to get more vertical on a business, right? And so if there is that opportunity that makes sense, bloop, add that to it. Also, be ready to pivot, right? I think that concrete example is a great one. Seems to make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
Concrete, patios, decks. Nope. But also be nimble, right? Be able
yeah,
to admit, hey, this is a mistake. Let's go back to what we're doing best at first and then reevaluate to
yeah,
to grow the business accordingly.
yeah. And I mean, that's growing a business is lessons learned, and I think anybody that's built a business or is growing a business is going through and learning lessons, sometimes the hard way.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're getting advice and skipping the hard parts. Um, and that, to me, that's a huge thing too, is finding other people that have built their business, seeing how they did it, helping navigate. Coaches are huge, for me especially. And I use the example of like a professional football team. Those are the best players in the world out playing, and they still have a coach that's working with them. They're not
that's a
going
great
out there,
point.
they're not doing it themselves. So even though I've
That's
grown
right.
a business to the size that it is, I still want help. I still want someone to guide me.
100%. I'm curious, going to the team building and growing your company, that can be a pain point for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? It's very simple when it's you and a couple buddies, and then as demand grows, how do I grow? How do I determine the type of person I hire? How do I go from just being a worker to a leader? Take me through some of the lessons that you've learned going from 3 to 25.
Well, there's definitely seasons that you go through with hiring as well. Um, there's times where you're hiring everyone that applies, and then there's times where you're sitting and thinking like, is this person actually going to be a good fit? And I think that comes down to the positions available. Sometimes someone will come in, if they're a great carpenter, they're not necessarily going to be the best interview in the world. Um, you know,
True.
they're probably great at building something, but to have a conversation with me, they might just be intimidated or whatever. But I'm not going to not give them an opportunity because they couldn't have a conversation with me. Um, they can absolutely go out and build a deck, or work underneath someone, and they don't have to be that speaking point. So seeing people for what they can do and not necessarily what you want them to do or think they should do has been a big thing. But also trial and error. I mean, I've hired and fired hundreds of people, literally hundreds. And I see that at the end of the year when we send out W-2s, like, oh, wow, that's a big pile of W-2s going out.
Yeah.
But it's all learning. It's all learning.
Yeah, there's some entrepreneurs have a view of fail fast or, fire fast. There's a view of I guess it could be a balance. You want to give somebody a chance, but sometimes you're just going to see like, hey, this is not going to work out, and let's rip the Band-Aid off, right? It's wasting their time being in a successful situation where they're going to thrive somewhere else. You're not maximizing your business with this person. Share a little bit about your view on when a when a team member is not working out. How do you go about that?
Uh, I mean, we like to look at it from different angles too. One person could say that someone's not working out, but if if it's like a carpenter or laborer, we might move them from one crew to another just to see if it's a fit thing. But really, what it comes down to is after three foremen say this guy can't do anything, that's when you're pretty sure that that guy can't do anything. Um, and ultimately, it's not a great thing to have to do, but it's looking out for the business as well as the rest of the team to get rid of that dead weight. Essentially, you're not doing anyone a favor by keeping someone on that's not doing the work they should be doing.
That's right. I want to go over to you mentioned mentorship and coaching, and I've thought a lot about that as well. I had a point in my career where I worked with an executive coach, and she just really helped change my mindset, helped me realize that I was capable of doing things that I did not believe. And I've had some great mentors in my life who have been years ahead of me and experienced things. I tend to have to learn from my experiences, both personally and professionally, which is kind of my curse, I suppose. I'd much rather learn from others, but share a little bit about your experience with mentorship.
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to realize that there was help out there. Um, you kind of see the mindset of the older generation where you're going to do it yourself. You don't want anyone to know anything about your business. Um, you're not asking for help. And I found that, one of the coaching platforms that I went to, um, the owner of it reached out to me actually, and I was I said, I'm looking for help. And he came to me and we had a chat. And at first I thought it was like a marketing ploy, like, oh yeah, just text me your information. And I was like, okay. I looked this guy up and like he was kind of a big deal. I was like, there's no way it's actually him. like, like, oh yeah, just text me. This is my phone number. Like, no, it's not. But
Right.
sure enough, I texted him and he answered me and he actually called me. And like he was driving somewhere to meet his wife and he just happened to have time, so he called me. And to me
Cool.
it was like, oh wow, there are like real genuine people out here that care about your business, um, want to see everybody succeed, and don't they're not like, he wasn't asking for money. He was just
Hmm.
calling me to talk to me. And, you know, eventually it did lead to joining a group and paying money. And, but, you know, there's a lot of great things that came out of that, a lot of experiences, meeting people across the United States that I wouldn't have met, leaning on them when I have questions, concerns, because I don't know it all. And some of them have worked through some of the similar problems. Uh, and it was really cool to see that, and I really do feel like anyone can get help, you know, whether it's personal or professional. Like I've
Hmm.
had a life coach, I've gone to therapy to just talk about myself and my life and how I
Hmm.
can improve and be the best husband, father, you know, son, business owner. Like it all comes down to that. And to me, I think it's really important that people ask for help.
I completely agree. I think a great point too is understanding that people who are mentors love to be asked to mentor. It's so fulfilling to share your experience. These people have, gone through life. They've taken the test, right? Like, imagine when you're in high school, right? And like, I remember when I was in high school, we'd have like, obviously everybody has different classes, right? And so my buddy in math, I'm not a big math guy over here. Spoiler alert. But my buddy would, have math class before me. And so we'd have a conversation and be like, yo, what's that test like? And so I tend to do a little better on the test because I knew some of the questions that were coming, right? And so in the same way, a mentor, anybody who has years of experience beyond ourselves, they've taken the test, right? And whether they've passed that test or failed that test, they know the answers. And so being able to share that is incredibly valuable, but oftentimes it can feel intimidating to go to somebody who you look up to and ask for help. But I just want to encourage our audience listening, people with that experience see it as an honor to be asked. And yeah, are they too busy to do that sometimes? Yeah. But don't feel like, it's going to be a negative experience asking somebody who's experienced and successful a little bit of advice on how they got to where they are, because oftentimes it's viewed as an honor to be asked. I'm curious, have you then shared your experience and your learnings with other people as a mentor yourself, or is that something that's coming in the future?
There have been times a lot of people starting out in business have asked questions. I haven't personally taken anyone under my wing, but definitely, you know, I'm definitely an open book. Anytime someone has questions or wants my input, I'm willing to give it. I'm not saying that my input's going to be the right way or the best way, but maybe I can help them overcome something they're working on, or, you know, surpass even where I'm at. And you know, the saying, "A rising tide raises all the ships." Like that's a great way to look at it. And if you're successful and you're not helping other people, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your talent.
I completely agree. And I'm going to give you an opportunity here to share some learnings, to mentor our audience here in a moment. But before we do that, let's listen to a message from our sponsor, Sphere Rocket.
Business owners and entrepreneurs will place a proven executive assistant VA for just $4 to $8 an hour. And if they don't perform, you don't pay. Imagine freeing up 20 plus hours a week by someone handling your most time consuming tasks like admin work, managing emails, scheduling meetings, and so much more. This one hire could transform your productivity and give you back the time you need to focus on growing your business. At Sphere Rocket VA, we make this possible in as little as 7 days. We'll place a proven executive assistant VA in your business for just $4 to $8 an hour, and your VA will take over day-to-day administrative tasks, help manage your email and calendar, follow up with past clients, giving you back 20 plus hours a week so you can increase your sales and even enjoy more personal time. And here's the best part. If they don't give you back 20 plus hours a week in the first month, you don't pay Sphere Rocket a dime. We've done this for thousands of business owners, and now it's your turn to see the results. Click the link around this video to schedule a demo and discover how this one hire can completely change how you run your business. Remember, if within 45 days the VA doesn't perform, you don't pay.
All right, Chad. So we're talking about mentorship and learning from people's experiences. And you strike me as somebody who is kind of an open book. You're willing to share not just your successes, but some of the challenges that you've gone through in business. We did talk a little bit about the cement situation, shall we call it?
Yeah.
But, a question that I love to ask, because I think we learn most from our failures. We learn more from our failures than from our wins. What was something that looked like a failure at the time that taught you a very important lesson?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot. Honestly, the concrete company was a huge part of my learning. Putting the right people into place. Just because you pay people well doesn't mean that they're going to care anymore. They don't necessarily improve themselves because you've tried to bring them up. You can only lead a horse to water. So when you think about it, and there's people out there that say, oh, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I think the biggest lesson I learned was staying in my lane and saying, hey, we're doing really good at building decks. Let's improve on building decks. Let's stay in that lane. Let's grow it. And it's been really good doing that.
Yeah, just once again, focusing on the thing that you do best and learning how to do it better and better over time. I'm curious if you were to go back to your day one when it was Chad Hoppel decks, just the three of you guys, and you could talk to your former self. What are a couple pieces of advice that you would give your former self?
Probably one of the first things would be like, don't give up. You're going to want to give up, and don't give up. Now, granted, I haven't, but having someone tell me that 7 years ago definitely would have helped get through the harder times. And we're very weather-oriented business. Obviously, the winter times here in Pennsylvania gets down to 0 sometimes. We'll have a foot of snow on the ground. Not ideal for people that want to use their deck. Not ideal for clients to call us thinking about their deck because they're not out there, they're not using it. So we have those waves. Financially, it's a stressor, February, March, and then we start picking up again as soon as it gets warm.
Yeah.
And being able to just ride that wave and say, hey, I get it. It's going to be slow. Accept it a little bit, because come June, July, August, here we are, and we're, killing it, making a lot of money, and a lot of people are working, and we're busy, and we just have to understand that that's something that's going to happen. And also, during this time, probably about a year into being in business for myself again, my wife said she wanted a divorce. And so for me, that was like, okay, like big blow. Navigating that while running a business and figuring out what was next. But, great things come along, great people, and now I'm engaged again.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And, I'm with someone that's wonderful, like perfect for me. We're a perfect fit. And she's awesome. So, these things happen, and in the moment you're like, everything's terrible, but things get better, and you just got to work through them.
Absolutely. It should not be overlooked how important your personal life and the health of your personal relationships are to aid your business, right? If everything's rocky at home, or you're miserable, or you're dealing with all these things over here, it's unlikely that your business is really going to thrive and you're able to focus
Yeah.
well on your current business, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, you have to really break your life into different areas. If you're spending 100% of your time on your business, everything else is going to fall apart. You need to break that out. You need to spend time with your family, spend time on yourself, spend time on your business. And it's difficult, but I saw it once as like a pie graph. And if all the areas are equal, things are going well. But as soon as one area starts to get bigger, the other areas get smaller until they disappear. And you can't have that. So, um, and I'd encourage anyone, if they're starting out on a business, I get it. You want to spend as much time trying to grow your business and make it successful, but you do have to focus on yourself. You got to take that time.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I'm curious as well, going back to the business side of things, how is running a retail business different from running a deck building business?
So it's not, it's, it has its ups and downs. For me, I enjoy retail. As a kid, I worked at Blockbuster. For those of you that remember Blockbuster, it was a
Yeah,
store that you walked into and bought videos or rented videos.
I
Um,
remember. I've got a lot of Blockbuster memories. Yeah.
yeah, and that was great. Probably one of my favorite jobs of all time. And I was employee of the month every month because I knew how to sell. So I'd upsell people on packages or passes or, um, whatever it took to try to get people to buy. So I have that sales experience from early on, and now having a retail store, it's easy just talking to people when they come in, asking them what they need, finding a solution to their problem, and it's no different than any other sales. If you're building a deck or doing a kitchen renovation, the people have a problem, and you're there to solve the problem. So the only difficult thing with retail is being a new business in town, getting people to know that you exist. We did a
Yeah.
mailer last week, and this week we've had a ton of people come in because of that mailer. So that's where marketing and advertising comes in, and is just as important for a retail store as it is for a construction business.
Yeah. And then how do you utilize the retail store to promote the deck building business and vice versa? Are you able to kind of overlap in that way from a
I've
marketing standpoint?
I've tried not to too much, just because we want the retail store to be available to, all contractors. And I don't want contractors to think, oh, well, that's competition, because the
Good
store
point.
isn't competition. The store is here for any contractor, any home improvement person, or do-it-yourselfer that wants to do it on the weekend. We're here
Hmm.
for those people. We're not competition when it comes to someone coming in and buying something. We're selling to them for the same price we're selling to myself, different company. But
Yeah.
I'm not giving myself any advantage there, except for the availability of it. It's in my yard, so it makes it easier. But other than that, to me, it was just the opportunity to have those products available, and be able to help out, other people, other contractors as well.
Yeah. And then the retail business, to give you the opportunity here, where is this retail store located?
So we are located at 210 North 2nd Street in Dillsburg, which is right along Route 15, which goes through Dillsburg into Harrisburg, next to Locals Market and across the street from 84 Lumber.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes, 84 Lumber. Okay. I know where 84 Lumber is. So you're just right across the street from there.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now I know where you're at. Great. Well, next time I'm in Dillsburg, I'll be sure I pop on over after I visit the lumber store, of course, which is where I
Excellent.
go every time I visit Dillsburg. Every single
Right,
time.
Dillsburg.
That's right. That's right. Second to last question here for you. What do you want people to remember about not just what you are building, but the impact that you're making in your community?
I think the biggest thing that I've always strived is that the more that you give, the more that you gain. And you don't do that because you're gaining, but you do it because people need you. And that's one nice thing about owning my own business is I've been able to give back to the community in different ways, whether it's donating to uh, a golf outing for a charity, a local sports team, even buying a kid that needed some cleats, just to help them out. Um,
Yeah.
and being able to do that because we're making the money that we can do that, like that's huge to me. And I've always appreciated the fact that people, even if we're not the cheapest, will call us and have us do their project. We have lots of customers that have done. Now granted, most customers are a one and done thing because once you build the deck, it's got a 50-year warranty. Probably not going to call us again. We're not honing in on repeat customers, but we have had repeat customers where, hey, I wanted to add a deck to the side or put a pergola on the deck you built. Um,
Sure.
and they come right to us. They don't price check us or anything. They come right to us because they know we'll do a good job and what we're doing in the community and helping out. And the other thing is, with my employees, I like to treat my employees how I'd want to be treated as an employee. I've worked for a lot of people that got greedy, didn't care, and
Yeah.
that's not how I want to be. I don't want people to hate their job. I want people to enjoy what they do. Know that I'm here for them if they need us. Luckily, again, we made enough money. We took our team to Hershey Park last Friday, and
Cool.
everybody got to enjoy the day off. So that's what we're aiming for. A nice place to work, enjoying work, and not hating life.
That's right. It makes such a big difference when you're looking forward to going to work, or even at the least not dreading going to work, right? And we spend more time with our coworkers a lot of times than even our families, right? And so when you're treating people well and everybody's happy to be there, also, it's great for the employees, also it's great for the company because you have people who are having a better, more positive impact and more productive because they're just happy with what they're doing and they're all on board with the mission, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last question for you here. If I am in your area and I need a deck built, how can I get a hold of you to have you guys come out and add to my home?
Well, currently our service area is central Pennsylvania. If you're familiar with it, it's from Duncannon down to the state line to Maryland. East to west, we go Lancaster to Chambersburg, Shippensburg, and then we are in Maryland around the Chesapeake. So pretty much 83 down around the Chesapeake. So if you are interested in building a deck or want us to take a look at something, honestly, the best way to check us out is to go to our website, which is www.westshiredecks.com. And ultimately, if you go to the website, you can see pricing on other projects we've done. So you don't get a surprise when you have us come out and take a look at your project.
Fantastic. Well, Chad, I appreciate all that you're doing. It's really inspiring hearing the business that you've built, how you've persevered and learned from the failures, grown an incredible team, and love how you're having a positive impact on your community. Thank you for joining me today on the Leverage Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dad. Awesome.